प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम् यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनः यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. If anybody wants a text, we are on the 8th chapter, some guests to follow, you can borrow this and give it back to me after the class. Beginning, right at the beginning, yes. ॐ अथ अष्टमोऽध्यायः अर्जुन उवाच किं तद्ब्रह्म किमध्यात्मम् किं कर्म पुरुषोत्तम अधिभूतं च किं प्रोक्तम् अधिदैवं किमुच्यते अधियज्ञः कथं कोत्र देहेऽस्मिन् मधुसूदन प्रयाणकाले च कथम् ज्ञेयोऽसि नियतात्मभिः. No coffee break for Lord Krishna, because at the end of the 7th chapter the Lord was said a few things. Sadhibhutam, Sadhidaivam, etc., etc. And then he described people of knowledge and left it like that, thinking he has given 6 other chapters, this should not be difficult to follow. And then he was ready for a break. No break, because Arjuna has 2 verses full of questions. And thus commences the 8th chapter. And the 8th chapter is in keeping with the Madhyama Shatka. Shatka means group of 6. So Madhyama Shatka, which comprises in this case verses 7 through 12. 6 chapters there. The first 6 chapters we saw. Of course, the guests here did not see, but you can still nod intelligently, okay? Now, the first 6 chapters we saw are what? Elucidating Tvam Pada. A thorough analysis of the word you. So, if I say you, what do you say? I, aham. So, this Tvam Pada Vichara was done, and then we saw also in the beginning of the 7th chapter there is a drastic topic change. Chapter, the whole theme change is there. The theme changes completely, and it is no longer about me. What should I do? What should I eat? Where should I go? How should I act? What is my connection to the elements? What is my connection to Ishvara? All these things, Ishvara was mentioned briefly as the recipient of Karma Yoga, as the recipient of prayer, and as the order, but not fully. But here, from Tvam Pada, there is a quantum leap to Tat Pada. We saw the nature of Bhagavan, and in chapter 7, and then again in chapter 8, it is centered on things which are not in our control. It is centered on Bhagavan. That is why chapter 8, we can say, if we had to describe it in one sentence, how to die gracefully. Oh, I thought the Bhagavad Gita was all about living. Why are we mentioning death? I want to live gracefully. Well, the thing is, death is to be mentioned because that is something which is avoided as a topic of distaste, as a topic of dvesha, as a topic of bhaya. But then that is where all the mystery is there. Nobody knows what happens. In fact, we don't know how to die. We really don't know how to die. We are completely, as a civilization, we are death avoidant, and we really do not know how to gracefully let go, because there is what is called Dehatma Buddhi. Deha eva atma iti buddhi. The identification with the body, the mind, the senses are very, very, very strong, and so therefore a treatise on death is very befitting here, where all the frills of everything, the mystery and everything that surrounds death is taken away by understanding death very simply as going back in a way to Ishvara. Whether one quote unquote goes, there is no going coming, okay, this is just a matter of there is no reaching. Even though adhigachati is mentioned many times, we don't take it literally. So there is no reaching, because who is the reacher, who is the reached, who is the sojourner, what is the destination, it's all the same. A for Atma, B for Brahman, C for Chit. Okay, this is the ABC of Vedanta. This is all there is. So no matter how you cut it, it's the same. But language being such, and one's mentality being one of alienation, these kinds of verbs we are constrained to use. We reach, we go, we become one with, all these things are going to be used, but we have to look upon it figuratively. So the whole chapter is about dying gracefully, learning the art of dying. What do you mean learning the art of dying? Learning the art of dying means it's same as learning the art of living. What for is this human body? Why has this human body been given when one could have been a monkey, a donkey, so many things, so many life forms are there. Somehow the karmas were favorable and one gained accidentally a human body. Why? What is the purpose? What is the purpose? Moksha. This is not a rhetorical question. I am looking for some noises. Okay, moksha. Gaining moksha. gaining freedom from this life of becoming something or the other. That is the purpose of this birth. That is why this body. That is why there is buddhi. That is why one has a head that thinks. That is why, yeah, exactly. Otherwise, one need not have a head. One could have been a pencil head. But one has a head, one has buddhi, one has free will to pursue this. One has the desire to pursue this. And that desire, if it is not recognized, morphs into the pursuit of the finite infinitely. And as I said before, one becomes the seeker of one becomes an infinite seeker instead of the seeker of the infinite. If you are the seeker of the infinite, you are safe because the quest is finite. But then, if you become an infinite seeker, then better luck next time. That's all we have to say. And so this way, the human birth is there, and even though this chapter is talking about death and dying, it is really about practicing living, really speaking. And death is important because this is where Ishvara comes in. One is not in charge of one's death, not at all. And since one doesn't know when it comes, one is not in charge. And that's why in the Taittiriya Upanishad, one thing we come to know about Lord Yama, Mrityur Dhavati Panchamaha. Panchamaha means the fifth one in that particular list. Vayu, Agni, Indra, etc. And then finally Mrityu, Surya, all these things. And then finally Mrityu, Dhavati. Dhavati here doesn't mean runs, jumps. Jumps. Because what does Lord Yama do? Does not say, okay, let me look at the list. Let me make a list. Let me look at the list. And 99-year-old. And after that, 98, 97. Does Lord Yama proceed that way? No. 99, 2-year-old suddenly gone. Nobody knows the reason. 2-month-old suddenly gone. And then 50-year-old. This is the jumping. And then again 97. And then again 45. Like this. It seems like there is no logic, but Ishvara is that. Ishvara is the logic behind. Bheshasmat vataf pavate. As though acting under the fear. It's not fear. It is acting under that intelligent order of that. So Lord Yama becomes a functionary here. And so, since Mrityuhu Bhavati, it can come at any time. It can come at any time. So there is the verses for the most part focus on what happens, not what happens, like focus on death and all these things and how to die. And this is based on a belief. And what is the belief? That the last thought at the end of the life is what you get. Okay? Ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, ice cream. Okay? Then what happens after that? Next life, you work, you start your first job in Baskin Robbins, okay, as a server. Yeah. So, because Bhagavan has a sense of humor. Or if human birth is not there, you're reborn as what? One is reborn as listeria, bacteria. Yeah, that causes stomach upset for all the people who come to eat that ice cream. That is sitting in the ice cream, marinating in the ice cream. Okay, yeah. So like this, so many possibilities are there. So ice cream, ice cream, ice cream, and then next life, that is it. So it's not really, even though they say last thought, it's not the last thought. It's the most predominant desire. This is what we have to say. Because the most predominant desire, chances are that is itself not the first thought, but also the last thought and every thought. This is what it is. Money, 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 money. dies. And then what? Next life, cashier, counting other people's money and giving behind a window in the bank. So all these kinds of karmas are there, and this is the reason why it is told in this chapter that based on this belief itself, that think of Bhagavan. Antakaleja mameva smaran. Smaran here must be quietly translated to Janan. Smaran means remembering. Janan means knowing. Same thing. Smaran must be converted to Janan, because remembering Bhagavan is not a possibility. Remembering ice cream is a possibility. Ice cream has one-upmanship over Bhagavan in the sense that ice cream is an object of thought. It can be enclosed in a thought. So, the subject, have a vritti. What is that vritti? Ice cream akara vritti. Okay? and that ice cream akara vritti takes place. So what happens? Then that the vritti, the thought form is born. Ice cream is born in the head. Then when I go in search of it and look at the ice cream, there is something called the second part of the cognitive operation called phalavyapti takes place. Meaning, I see the ice cream, and then whatever ice cream, ishta ice cream is in the head, gets adjusted to what I see. So, replace ice cream with Brahman, Bhagavan, Ishvara. Then what is there? So, how are you going to have Ishvara Kara Vritti? You'll have to think, you'll have to think of trunk and ears like an elephant, all these things on Ganesha Chaturthi. But that is not Bhagavan, according to the Upanishads. That is Sagunam Brahma. But here we are talking of that which is essentially free of name, free of form, free of attributes. How can you think of something that is free of form? How can you think of something that is free of name, free of attributes? Try. You cannot. Why? It is not an object. It is you. This is what we have to understand. It is non-separate from you. Oh, that's easy. I can think of me. What are you going to think of? Me means what? Only thought that will come is why me. That's what it will come. And again, when you cry why me, one is lamenting in the form of bhokta, victim. So this is not possible. It's not possible to think of Bhagavan, because Bhagavan is not an object enclosed in a thought, enclosable in a thought. And so therefore, remembering is used figuratively. The word remembering is used figuratively, and so we have to replace the word remembering when it comes as what? Knowing. And so this is how the whole chapter proceeds. And I think it will be helpful to have like a verse by verse summary first, to get the layout of the chapter before we begin to address Arjuna's questions. Okay, so 1 to 4 we have the question answer between Arjuna and Bhagavan. Here he asks 7 things. We'll see what they are, and the Lord's answer to these 7 things comprises verses 1 to 4. And then the now verse number 5 to 27 basically is a general answer to the last question, why should we think of Bhagavan? Think means know Bhagavan and recall Bhagavan as the truth of the self at the last hour or the last minute of death. Why should we do that? So practically, it takes a long time to answer this question. Bhagavan takes the time, comprises almost to the end of the chapter. inside that itself, between 5 and 27, verses 5 and 27, we have verses 9 to 13, which again has a specific internal topic, which is the practice of certain meditations which are designed to put the mind in a calm state. Upasana. This is what is given here is also Omkara Upasana. Omkara Upasana is taught. Omkara Upasana is given, and then certain other upasanas are given along with their phalas. Phalas means what do I get after doing this upasana. If one is a mumukshu, a jignasu, only wanting this knowledge, then only drishtaphalam is desired. As a result of this upasana, I am calm, I have chitta naishchalyam. What is chitta naishchalyam? The power of the mind to stay with me. I have a say over the ways of the mind. This is chitta sthirata. This is the chitta sthairya is the drishtaphala, and that itself is enough if one is a jignasu, a mumukshu. Okay. Then so there are upasanas given here on how to calm the mind and to have a certain ekagrata, one pointedness, focus, etc. Then we verses 15 to 22, again within the rubric of 5 to 27, another subtopic is the elucidation of two kinds of goals. What is goal number 1? Jagat and all the objects in the Jagat. This is what most people want. I have this pursuit, I have that pursuit, after that I have this other pursuit, this is what I want. And then, what if your goal is nothing other than Bhagavan? So that is all. Those two goals are going to be compared, and some statements made about that from in these particular verses, the 15 to 22. Then finally, 23 to 27, the upasanas, the two kinds of upasana, fruits of this upasana in the form of what happens after death. Two kinds of paths. The person who is a karmakandin, the one who is in karmakanda, the one who is a ritualistic person, how does that person leave the body, and how does the person who is an upasaka leave the body? Now, these two paths are given along with the final two verses, the last verse, glorification of the upasana itself. So this is like the map. This is the GPS of chapter 8. Okay, so that you can see where we are. Usually if you go to some building and look at a map, there will be all these destinations, and then there will be a dot. You are here. So that is important, because from there you can go wherever you want. And so at any given point we can see where we are on this general map of the verses. A small chapter, an important one, because death is on everybody's mind, but nobody really is happy to acknowledge it. So then, in the beginning we don't start with the subject matter of death. In the beginning we start with Arjuna asking clarification, answers for 6 terms that are used, 7 terms that are used, that he has no idea what they are. He says, what is this? You just bombarded me with all these terms, that too at the closing of the chapter. And then you want to go away now. No. This is what I want to know. I want to know what these terms are. Let us just count these terms in the verses that we have just chanted. So, Brahma, first one. Okay. Then, Adhyatmam, second one. What's the third one? Karma, third one. Then, fourth one, Purushottama. No, okay, yeah. So, Adhibhutam. Adhibhutam. And then Adhidaivam. How many is that? 5. Okay. Adhiyagyam. And then, Adhiyagyam 6. And then the 7th one is, why should we know you at the time of death? That is the 7th one. These are the 7 things. He just keeps asking Kim, Kim, Kim. Kim means what is this, what is this, what is this, what is this, etc. And then finally, Prayana Kale Chakatham Jneyah Asi. Jneyah, why are you known? Why are you to be known? Jnana Yogyah. Jneyah, Jnana Yogyah means why are you fit to be known at the time of Prayana. Prayana doesn't mean just a journey, trip. Okay? Here it means final trip. Not see you later. Okay? Yeah. There's no seeing afterwards. Final trip. Ram Naam Satya hai. That trip. And then, so why should I have you in my sights at the time of departure? These are the 7 things he wants to know. And then let us look at Bhagavan's answer, because there's nothing much more to say in these questions. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Aksharam Brahma Paramam Svabhavodhyatma Muchyate Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visargah Karma Samgitaha Adhibhutam Ksharo Bhavaha Purushashchadhidaivatam Adhiyajñohamevatra Dehe Dehabhritambara. So first, Brahman. What is Brahman? In one word, Lord answers. Aksharam. What is Akshara? That which does not ever decay, decline. That is Brahman. This is taken straight from Mundaka Upanishad. Very nice, yes. So, Mundaka Upanishad, and in the Mundaka Upanishad, there is an exchange between the student Shaunaka and the teacher. What's the name of the teacher? Angiras. And there is a exchange. And what is that exchange? Kasminnu bhagavo vijñāte sarvam vijñātam bhavati. Sarvam vijñātam syat. What is that one thing knowing which everything is as well as known, as good as known? This is what is the master key? If there is a master key which will open all the doors, I want that master key. Instead of collecting small keys, I just want one key that will open everything that I want to know. Is there this kind of a knowledge? And the answer that was given was Dve Vidye Veditavye. 2 kinds of knowledges are there that must be known. What are they? Apara and Para. And then first Apara is listed. And with the listing, when we read the listing, the heart has a sinking feeling and gets digested in the stomach. Okay? Because what is the first thing in the list of Apara? Rigvedaha. Oh no, Aitareya Upanishad, gone. Yajurvedaha, Kathopanishad, gone. And then what? Ishavasya Upanishad also gone. Then Yajurvedaha, Samavedaha, 2-3 Upanishads gone. Then Atharva Vedaha, Mundaka Upanishad itself gone. Because it's all part of this. All the Upanishads swallowed up by apara. Then all this shiksha, kalpa, ya karna, kya karna, all these things, everything gone, 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 gone. Then what is left for para? Yaya tad aksharam adhigamyate. What is this yaya? Yaya means by which? Buddhi vritya. Yaya buddhi vritya. The infinite, very interestingly, in the very befitting to Vedanta, it's a series of paradoxes. So here is one more paradox. The infinite is conveyed through the most finite thing called vritti. Kshanika vritti. Yaya buddhi vritya. It is transmitted in the form of a vritti. It's a vritti that carries this, not information, the knowledge that one is whole. It's a ajnana removing vritti called akhandakara vritti, and then it comes through the teacher to the heart of the student, from the mouth of the teacher to the heart of the student. And what is this heart? Covered with a stone wall is the heart. All kinds of resistances, all kinds of fears. What if I don't know? One fear. Oh no, what if I know? What will happen if I get moksha? That is also another fear. Oh my God, OMG, what will happen if I get moksha? How will I survive? What will happen to all my hobbies and interests and everything? And so all these things are there. But the knowledge that one is Brahman, the knowledge you are not this finite person, limited, confined to this body, mind, sense complex, is carried by this vritti, and then the vritti is like a small flower that has very powerful, that breaks the wall that is surrounding the heart in the form of fears, tears, unconscious, everything. It just breaks it open, and Ishvara Darshanam takes place. Why? Because the inhibiting factors are not there. So any time in any Vedanta session, when there is a aha moment, that means there is akhandakara vritti in operation. And what happens to the vritti? It dies. It has finished the job. It is no longer needed. It self-destructs. It self-destructs. But then it has done its job. Vritti we don't need anymore because it has conveyed the truth of the self by removing all the wrong notions, and the I, being the self-evident, self-effulgent I, shines as Brahman. No other thing is needed. And so therefore this is what is called akshara. Yaya buddhi vritya aksharam adhigamyate is understood. It's a cognitive pursuit. It doesn't say yaya aksharam anubhuyate. It is not an object to experience. It is a cognitive pursuit. It is that through which it is understood. Understood as what? Not one more thing to pursue. It is understood as the content, the essence of this I, myself alone. The one who I thought, the one I had mistaken myself to be a jaded, faded jiva, is actually akshara, is actually free of all limitations. And so that is aksharam paramam brahma. This is brahma. Paramam is aksharam. Paramam means nothing else is there. Only that is there. Nothing beyond it. Therefore, there is no question. Now that I have moksha, what should I do? That question is what? Nirarthaka. Meaningless question. In fact, I was present when Pujya Swamiji was asked this question by one person. I have read Upanishad. This man said, I have read Katha Upanishad, I have read Mundaka Upanishad, I have read Mandukya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad, this Upanishad, that Upanishad, everything I have read. And I think I have moksha, Swamiji. What should I do? Swamiji, without batting an eyelid, said, get a job. Yeah, contribute to society. Get a job. Yeah, because that question itself is invalid. It is not. It's not. That means the pursuit itself hasn't been understood. If there is something more to do after moksha, and this, these are the occupational hazards of being a Swami. Because once I had gone somewhere and they said, can you please give a talk on life after moksha? And I said, that is not really a topic at all. So, perhaps we can have a topic on moksha in daily life or something, I don't know what. Something had to be converted and it was done. But there is no life after moksha. There is nothing to talk about. And so therefore this is Brahma Paramam. This Akshara is Brahman. That which is free of all changes, that which is sought after as the content, the truth of oneself. Gaining which there is nothing more to gain. Okay, if I know this to be Brahman, usme mera kya fayda hai, what will happen for me? And how will it benefit me? Okay, there is Asti, Brahma Asti. There is something called Brahman. But what does that do to me? Nothing. And so therefore, the next question is answered. Kim tad adhyatmam swabhavaha adhyatmam uchyate. Swabhava here is not nature or anything. Swabhava means the manifestation of this Brahman in the upadhi of the human being is called Adhyatmam. So what is Adhyatmam? Brahman in a human form. Adhyatmam. That is the idea. So therefore it is already like a Mahavakya-esque here. So this is Brahman. And so what if this Akshara, this wonderful Brahman you are describing, that is always out of reach, so what is it going to do to me? Well, that happens to be you. Oh, I better find out. Exactly. My sentiments, exactly. You better find out because there is no other option. And then Swabhavaha means the manifestation of this Brahman in this body-mind-sense complex is called Adhyatma. Atmanam adhikritya tishtati. Adhyatmam. Centered on I. This Brahman is centered on I. And this is a very good way to put it, because otherwise we think Brahman is inside. Inside means what? You have to do, if you do an autopsy, you find Brahman? No. And so it is inside, outside. There is no inside, outside, because space itself is Brahman. Time is Brahman. Space is Brahman. Anything that you think of is Brahman. There is no separation. And since there is no separation, we say centered on wherever that I-ness is recognized, that is where Brahman is. So, Jagataha Upalabdhisthanam, the place where the Jagat is recognized, is the exact same place where Jagataha Adhishthanasya Upalabdhisthanam eva, where the truth of the Jagat is recognized. The basis of the Jagat, the truth of the Jagat is recognized where? Right here. The Jagat is recognized where? Right here. That is what has to be understood. So Adhyatmam means the expression of this Brahman in this miserable body-mind-sense complex. This is what is Adhyatmam, centered on I. And then Adhibhutam, centered Bhutani Adhikritya Tishtati iti Adhibhutam. So centered on the Bhutas. What are Bhutas? Yeah, 5 elements, and Bhautikas also, elementals, things that have come, Bhutebhya Jatam, Bhautikam, things that have come from the Bhutas also we can take. So centered on the Bhutas, anything that is a product of the five elements is what? Is finite. Ksharo bhavaha. Finite. Any object that you take can be traced to five elements, and anything that is traced to the five elements may look fine, but it is finite. In other words, whatever you pursue other than Brahman is what? Finite. Adhibhutam ksharo bhavaha. So this is not a Bhagavan's opinion. This is a statement of fact. This is a fact. Whatever I objectify is coming to an end. And then if I pursue that thing, Acharya Sureshwara says in the Vartikat, the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, Sarve Sanyogaha Viyogantaha. Sanyogaha means what? Coming together. All unions are until separation. When that separation will take place, we don't know. But if the definition of union is until separation. Even in the English marriage vow, what do they say? They are very realistic about it. What do they say? Till death do us part. Yeah, they are realistic about it. So therefore, every sarve sanyogaha viyogantaha. Every union lasts until separation. So this ksharo bhava, adhibhuta, anything that is called adhibhuta, anything that is elemental in nature, born of the elements, which is what? Everything. Don't think, oh, five elements only means five things. No. Whatever you see, whatever you interact, whatever you fall in love with, okay? Yeah. Fall being the operative word, meaning there doesn't seem to be a sense of agency there. So all that is what? All that is subject to destruction, finite, time bound, limited. Then adhidaivatam purushaha. Purushaha here is Hiranyagarbha. So purushaha adhidaivatam, centered on devas. Devan adhikritya tishtati. So Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is Ishvara in a form, in a potential form. The power of manifestation, etc., which then morphs into various devas, all these things, forms and functions. This is what is that power, Hiranyagarbha. Then what else is there? Adhiyajnaha ahameva atra. Adhiyajnaha means that which is at the center of all yajnas. Yajna means worship. So, what is that the center of yajnas? Ishvara. Yes. Read. Aham. Aham here doesn't mean me, okay? Yeah, doesn't mean you. It means Ishvara. Bhagavan is talking. Bhagavan is not talking as Krishna. Bhagavan Krishna is talking as Bhagavan, Ishvara. So who is the one that receives the fruits of that receives the prayer? Ishvara. Where are all the yajna, whatever offering is given to Indra, Varuna, Agni, etc., goes ultimately to whom? Ishvara. So therefore, Ishvara is called Adhiyajna, the one who receives the various forms of prayers. And then Ahameva Atra Dehe Dehabhritam Vara. Arjuna is being described as not as as a most exalted human being. Among all the bodies, one Dehabhritam Vara, the most exalted of the one of the beings who are embodied. This is what Arjuna is being given high praise, because he is listening so carefully and he is understanding all this, and so therefore this is the Subhavo Adhyatma Muchyate. One thing we forgot. Bhuta Bhavodbhavakaraha Visargaha Karma Sangitaha. We forgot the last line of 3. I was wondering where is karma. So Visargaha karma sangitah. Visarga means offering. Oh, but that's not what I have studied in grammar class. That's a different visarga. Okay. Visarga here means whatever is offered. That is called karma. Karma means an offering in the form of prayer. No, but there are so many other karmas, eating, drinking, everything. Why only prayer is talked about here? Because that's how the Shastra is. The Shastra takes the ultimate thing. The Shastra takes the main thing. It does not bother with all these other things. Even in the Taittiriya Upanishad, Vijnanai Yajnam Tanute Karmani Tanute Picha is later on. Yajnam Tanute. Here also, that offering, Visargaha, that offering is what is called karma. And we know, having studied Karma Yoga, that everything is to be an offering. My whole life itself is an offering to Bhagavan. Everything I do is an offering to Bhagavan. All my actions are offering to Bhagavan. The result is also an offering from Bhagavan. So it's like without Bhagavan there is no Karma Yoga. So therefore, it is not that prayer is highlighted or yajna is highlighted. It is that one has been asked already in chapters 2, 3 and 4 to convert one's whole life into an endless yajna, into an endless prayer. So anything that one does, one is in Bhagavan awareness all the time, and one is doing it first deliberately as an offering to Bhagavan, and then naturally as that becomes natural. That deliberate conscious effort becomes then a natural tendency. So therefore, visargaha karma sangitaha. And what is this karma? Karma is also qualified by one more thing, bhuta bhava udbhavakaraha. So, bhuta bhava udbhavakaraha. Udbhavakaraha means the cause of birth. Sad treatise on karma, but nonetheless true. The more one does, the more one is wanting very badly to be born again and again and again. These definitions here are just cutting to the chase. No frills, nothing, straight away. It's like, what is karma? That which keeps you in birth. That is karma. Those offerings because of which there is punya papa. Punya here, let's look on the bright side. Shruti rarely talks about papa unless it really has to talk about papa. Always sukritam, sukritam. Kritam pibantau sukritam loke. But we have to add dushkritam cha. We have to add. In the Kathopanishad, kritam pibantau sukritam. People or two fellows are drinking what? Karma cocktail. Papa and punya. But here only punya is mentioned. Here also only good karma is mentioned. But the good karma also becomes what? Golden spoon in the mouth. And if you're born in the golden spoon in the mouth, then what? Thought of moksha, thought of Vedanta, ashram, etc. will not come. Ashram means what? Why? Why are people wearing these kinds of clothes? And why are they just leading these minimalistic life? What for? That thought doesn't come because the golden chains. One is in a golden cage. There is a folk song where the woman has gone to gather some firewood for her evening meal, and then she sees a parrot on the tree, and she wants the parrot is singing sweetly. Each time it opens its beak, some nice sounds are coming, and she tells the parrot, "Come with me. I will give you a golden cage. I'll make you a nice golden cage studded with gems." And the parrot, this must have happened when human beings and birds could understand one another. This is the time from that song from that time. And then what does the parrot say? Keep your golden cage to yourself, because even if it's made of gold, what is it? Still a cage. Still a cage. And so here that's why it is Bhuta Bhava. Bhava means the coming to being. Bhuta means beings, all the jivas. So Bhuta Bhava Udbhavakaraha, that which is the cause of things coming into beings, this is what is called karma. Sad but true. Okay? Yeah. So adhiyajnah ahamevatra dehe dehभृतां वर फद अंतकाले च मामेव स्मरन् मुक्त्वा कलेवरम् यः प्रयाति समद्भावम् याति नात्यत्र संशयः नास्त्यत्र संशयः. Here is where that belief is proclaimed and given a nice form to. Antakale. Antakale means at the last moment. Mameva smaran. Smaran here must be converted to knowing. Janan. So knowing me at the end of life. How can you know Bhagavan at the end of life? At the end of life, with any luck, the person is in a bed with 3 tubes. One for breathing, one for food, one for elimination. This is what could be the reality of many people. Alas, but this is true. So then at that time, if one wants to study ABC of Vedanta, let me study Tattva Bodha. It may not work. Maybe there is a lot of pain. Maybe the person has to be on morphine. Maybe the person is unconscious. Because the prana doesn't go so easily. There is a lot of identification with the body, the prana, the mind, etc. So that time in one's life is not a conducive time for knowing Bhagavan as the truth of oneself. Why? Because the body is not available. The mind has to be available, alert. The body has to be available. If one is in a bed with 3 tubes, what availability is there? And then maybe one is elderly, old age. And so, you say Brahman, and then that is understood something else. Like, you are Advaya, and that is not heard because hard of hearing. And opposite is internalized, opposite is heard, yeah. Dvaita is heard instead of Advaita. So like this, so many contortions and distortions might be there. So therefore, Antakale, in order to know Bhagavan at the end of the life, when one must know Bhagavan all of one's life. To know Bhagavan, to command that knowledge at the end of the life, one must know Bhagavan all of one's life. So therefore, even though we say this 8th chapter is a treatise on how to die gracefully, it is really about how to live gracefully. If the whole life is spent in knowing Bhagavan, in being one with Bhagavan, in understanding our non-separate from Bhagavan, then think of so many things that could have been that are not there. Wherever the mind goes, otherwise mind will go to, look at this person, how they are pretending to know Vedanta and they are coming to all the retreats but they don't know anything. Look at how they behave outside of class. Look at how they cut in line. Look at what they do. This is where the mind will go. If it is not in Vedanta, it will go all over the place. Look at how that person is. Look at what this person is doing. Look at what that person is doing. Why the ashram is like this? The other ashram had better food. Why doesn't this have better food? All these thoughts will come. One is critical about everybody else, and then when one is critical about everybody else, 10 times as much one is critical about oneself. There is a very beautiful work. One must study it. In fact, it should be part of any Vedanta curriculum. It is called Dosha Parihara Ashtakam, an octet for the removal of faults, removal of the fault in me which makes me fault others all the time. What is that fault? Very ingeniously written and beautifully composed. Here he has a dialogue with Shiva, the author, has a dialogue with Lord Shiva, and he says, what is it in me that is finding fault with everybody including you? Very beautifully. So there is a Ashtaka. So like this, the mind goes everywhere. The mind is alights on all kinds of things that are incomplete, that are not okay. Why? Because one is not, simply because one is not okay with oneself. If I am not okay with myself, definitely I cannot say you are okay. No, if I am not okay, that means what? You are also not okay. And so therefore, a life spent in the study of Vedanta naturally brings the mind to where it needs to light, where it needs to rest, in the truth of oneself. And even in the beginning, even if at the beginning the truth may be looking a little frustrating, it is difficult to assimilate, still one keeps at it because it is the only thing to do. And then the last minute of life does not matter at all. One can be on morphine, doesn't matter. The fact that one knows Brahman cannot be erased. One can have Alzheimer's disease. One can forget one's own name. Still, the fact that one is a Brahmajnani cannot be erased. Here itself in Rishikesh, Pujya Swamiji used to talk about one Mahatma who had Alzheimer's disease. He could not remember any of his students. And one of the students went to him and did pranam. And then the Mahatma, who could not remember anything, blessed him and said, "Who is your guru?" Student got very annoyed. "You are my guru." How can you not remember that in those days? This was what story from 1960s or 70s when Pujya Swamiji used to be here. And so this disease dementia was not understood at all in those days. But that person that Pujya Swamiji talked about was a great jnani. And so, doesn't matter if you have, if one has dementia, Alzheimer's disease, that one is Brahman, that knowledge does not go away. Why? Simply because it is not based on memory. Brahmajnanam, Atmajnanam, that I am not this body, mind, sense complex. I am the truth of this. I am non-separate from Ishvara. My truth is Satchidananda. This thankfully does not rely on memory. This is very relieving, and also this means one more excuse that you have to not come to Vedanta classes and not take up Vedanta pursuit is gone. Namely, my memory is not very good, so I am not good for this knowledge. You don't need memory. You just need to understand. That's what it is. Memory is needed if you have a desire to teach it. Then yes, you have to remember a few things. But if you want to know the knowledge and enjoy it for yourself, there is no memory needed. What for memory? If Brahmajnanam were dependent on memory, then we are in trouble, because then it would not be ananta. It would not be limitless. Memory would become limitless. But the mind is, that's how it is. The only thing that we can say about the mind is, never mind. That's all we can say. So, but the memory here is not at all in question. We are not talking of memory. What are we talking about? We are talking about understanding. It's a cognitive pursuit. It's the removal of all the problems that are there, the badhakas, the pratibandhas, the obstacles to understand, to seeing the truth of myself as Bhagavan, Ishvara. This is what it is. So therefore, Antakale cha mameva smaran janan muktva kalevaram, the one who departs from this world, who leaves the body knowing this. Yaha prayati, the one who yati means just goes, comes back. When prakarshena yati means doesn't come back. The one who leaves the body, samadbhavam yati. Madbhavam yati doesn't mean goes to Vaikuntha, Kailasa, etc. We'll see that more in detail tomorrow. But madbhavam yati means attains me as the truth of oneself. Even while alive, the person was with Bhagavan, was one with Bhagavan, and after the body is dropped also, the person is non-separate from Bhagavan. This is in case of a Jnani. And what happens if one departs from this world and is not a Jnani? We will see same time, same place, then tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah.